I challenge everyone in this room before you start the hiring process, have a look at your capacity planner. If you don't have one, would you say that's the right way to go, Ed?
Yeah, 100%. Look, start with the blueprint. Find out who the senior client managers are. The senior client managers are the people that like people that are going to communicate. Because if you want to grow, you've got to be able to respond to your emails and your phone calls very, very quickly. And I'll use this analogy that, if you're the customer and you're dealing with a supplier and you've got whatever it is, whether it's a plumbing company or a legal firm or an architectural firm, or you've got company A who responds to you very quickly, and then you've got company B who doesn't respond to you. Now, naturally, you're going to deal with company A because they're responding to you. Body language they're saying to you is that we care about you, we want your business, and we're here for you. And the company B who doesn't respond to you is saying to you that they don't care about you. They've got other things that's more important. So obviously that's common sense. But if you don't set up your team structure properly so that the senior client managers can respond to the client's questions within the first day, they're not responding to them for a few days, then you're going to lose business. Not only will you lose business, but you won't get any referrals, so you won't be able to grow your business. Now, in order for that senior client manager to be able to respond, you've got to get the production work off them. So the production work has to be pushed down to the production team who's set up to prepare to do the work. Now, in order to identify whether you've got the right capacity, you've got to have a capacity plan that you need to work out, the people that you have and the capacity of each person. Now, of course, it's not just bodies and the hours that they can put in. It's about getting the resource mix right. So you've got to have people who are doing the grinding work. You've got to have a senior production manager who checks the work and trains the people to do that work, because you need to invest in your balance sheet, not just finish the job and raise an invoice and send the bill out. And that's what I call a P&L play. You got to have a balance sheet. You've got to invest in your balance sheet, which is making sure that the people underneath you are being trained up and brought along this journey. So it's a constant both sides, not just one side. When I say just a P&L, they just focus on getting the work done. They don't focus on investing in their balance sheet, which is their people, bringing their skill levels up. So you've got to have the right resource mix in there. So you're getting both the P&L and the balance sheet play right and investing in the long term. So it's not just short term. So you've got to get all that right. And then you can give good service. And if you give good service, you can turn around that work efficiently. And of course, you then get referrals from clients. That's the game. It's not just getting the work out the door. It's the long game as well as the short game.
Yeah, no, that's totally true, Ed. Thanks for that. Today's topic is how to use competency test and assess candidates in your recruitment process. Just to set the scene, Ed, we've been having a lot of conversations in the broader Wize community recently about finding people. I don't know if you've got anything you can set the scene with on that, but it seems to be harder. You've been around for a while now. It seems to be harder. That's meant out of respect. It seems to be harder recently than at times in the past to hire people. Have you experienced this, or do you have any insights on this, just to set the scene?
Yeah, sure. Yes, I've been around a while now, but and I've seen I've seen lots of cycles. Back in the 90s, it was really difficult to hire staff, and you go in these cycles, and we are back in that cycle, and it is quite difficult. I'd like to take everyone back to principles. Because if you start off with the principles, then it makes it a little bit easier to recruit. I've always used this analogy. It's a bit like recruiting people is a bit like reacting to the workload as opposed to planning for the workload. And I use this analogy like 5-year-olds playing soccer. Everybody's reacting to the soccer ball. So all these little 5-year-olds are all chasing this ball, and that's your workload. So you're all reacting to the workload instead of them all having positions. So when you have a soccer team, you've got a fullback, you've got a goalie, you've got the wingers, and you don't put a winger who's supposed to be really fast in a goalie position, and you're looking for the goalie who's got really good reflexes. So we're playing people in position, not out of position. So the biggest mistake is we just go out out there and recruit as a reaction to the workload, and you end up with these flat teams, or what I call 5-year-olds chasing the ball, and they're all bunched up together and there's no structure, there's nothing. The first thing is to get that structure in place, the teams in place, and understand that the way an accountancy firm works, it's about managing your traffic. And there's two types of traffic that comes into the organization. There's communication traffic and there's production traffic. And not everybody is suited to one or the other. There are some people who are suited to communication traffic and relationships and so forth. And then there are other people who are suited to production traffic, and they're happy to sit there and do the work and not talk to anybody. It doesn't mean that they're any better or worse than the people who are people orientated. It just means that they've got a different role. So in the soccer analogy, the goalie is no better or worse the winger or the forwards who score goals. I mean, the people who score goals that are forwards, then they get all the glory, but they wouldn't exist without the backs and the goalie protecting their goals from being scored against them. So it's a whole team effort. And when you're recruiting for this team, you've got to bring those complementary skills together, but you've got to start off with understanding the team blueprint, the blueprint of what you're trying to achieve. And that is having the right person there to manage the communication traffic and having the right people there to produce the work. And if you put people in the wrong positions, and I often get owners complaining to me that, my staff my staff doesn't sell more services. They should be selling more services. Well, that's because they're not suited for that role. But if you put someone that's suited for that role, then they'll sell and sell and sell and sell, and they're comfortable doing that. Or some people just send out emails and they don't like picking the phone up and talking to the clients. Well, that's because you're playing them in the wrong position. So I guess it's creating the blueprint. And then once you've got the blueprint, and we talk about, senior client managers and senior production managers and the accountants who do the grinding. And when you have a clear view of that team structure, that blueprint, then it makes it a lot easier to go out there and recruit. And otherwise, you're just going out there and recruiting, you're recruiting the superstar who can do everything, and you don't need that person who can do everything. And what I mean by being able to do everything is, they're quick at doing the work, they don't make mistakes, they've got great personalities, they can talk to their clients, they can sell, they can do everything. And you're looking for that superstar, which is really hard to find. And of course, every other man and dog out there, every other competitive firm out there is also looking for that person. So that you get in this position where, you've got to pay enormous amount of money for this person, and they have so many options that they, as soon as something goes wrong, they're looking for a new job because there's so much in demand, and that's not the way to run a business. So hopefully, in a nutshell, that sort of explains the basis of where we're heading with this.
Yeah, no, thanks. I think what you highlighted there is really crucial. I've spoken to a lot of firms, both in Wize Mentoring and in my acquisition path in my own firm, and it's uncanny how many firms feel they have to hire someone straight away. And when I ask them what position it's for or what they're looking for, they've got no idea. They're just after a body. And even firms in Wize Mentoring have been guilty of that. I've been guilty of that in the past. I've said to these firms where I've been able to that they're setting themselves up for a fall, because how will they know they've got the right person if they don't know what seat that person's in? And even if they do get a decent person for a role, if they don't play them in that position, they're going to misuse them. So I think it's quite emotional. I think if you have clients saying, hey, I need you to do my work, and you don't have enough capacity to do that, it's tempting. And I've been in this position in the past to just kind of roll the dice on someone because you need someone there. I think Jamie's got that saying, don't just throw bodies at the problem. I really like that.